Have you ever made a mistake so big you thought you could fix it, only to watch it shatter everything in an instant? This is a story about that moment, a story about a choice that changed everything. Let's call them Clara and Liam. They had what everyone called the perfect life: a beautiful house in the suburbs, two wonderful kids, and a love story that started back in college. From the outside, they were the couple everyone wanted to be. Liam was a devoted husband and a doting father. He was the kind of man who'd leave little notes for Clara in her lunchbox, the kind who'd build elaborate pillow forts with the kids on a rainy Sunday. He wasn't just present, he was involved in every detail of their lives. He loved Clara with a depth that was both quiet and profound. But somewhere along the way, Clara started to feel a different kind of pull. The routine, the predictability, it started to feel less like comfort and more like a cage. She met someone at her new job, a man named Ethan. He was exciting, spontaneous, and he saw her not as a wife or a mother, but just as Clara. The late nights at the office turned into quiet drinks, which then turned into something more. For a few months, she lived a double life, caught between the steady, reliable love of her husband and the thrilling, fleeting attention of another man. She told herself it was just a phase, a small detour from her real life. She believed, deep down, that her bond with Liam was unbreakable, that it could withstand anything, even this. She thought she had it all under control. She thought wrong. The day it all came crashing down started like any other. Liam had taken the kids to the park, and Clara had a few hours to herself. That's when the text came from Ethan's wife. A simple screenshot of a conversation, but it was enough to detonate their entire world. When Liam returned, the kids buzzing with stories about the playground, he found Clara pale and trembling in the kitchen, her phone lying face up on the counter. He didn't need to ask. He saw the screen, and in that single moment, the light in his eyes, the one that always shone for her, just went out. The silence in that room was heavier than any words could ever be. He just stood there looking at the phone, then at her, and the expression on his face was one of pure, unadulterated heartbreak. Clara launched into a frantic apology. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded, explained, and begged. She told him it was a mistake, that it meant nothing, that he and the kids were her everything. She expected him to yell, to scream, to demand answers. She expected a fight. In a strange way, she wanted a fight, because fighting meant he still cared, that there was something left to fight for. She braced herself for the explosion, for the rage she felt she deserved. She thought he would break down, that he'd eventually demand she promise never to do it again, that they would have a long, painful road to recovery, but that they would walk it together. She assumed his love for her, for their family, would anchor him. She thought he would eventually beg her to fix what she had broken. But Liam did none of those things. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't cry. He simply listened, his face a mask of stone. When she finally ran out of words, her sobs echoing in the quiet kitchen, he took a deep breath. His voice, when he finally spoke, was eerily calm, devoid of any emotion. "I see," was all he said. He walked past her, went upstairs, and began to pack a bag. Not with anger, not with haste, but with a slow, deliberate purpose that was more terrifying than any rage could have been. Clara followed him, her pleas growing more desperate. "Liam, please, talk to me, yell at me, say something." But he continued packing in silence. A pair of jeans, a few shirts, his toothbrush, the simple, everyday items of a life that was now being dismantled before her very eyes. He walked downstairs, bag in hand, and paused at the door. He looked around the living room, his eyes lingering for a moment on the family photos on the mantelpiece. Smiling faces from beach vacations, birthdays, Christmases. It was a museum of a life that no longer existed. Clara stood there, frozen, realizing the catastrophic miscalculation she had made. She hadn't just dented their marriage. She had shattered it beyond recognition. She had believed his love for her was an unconditional safety net. She never imagined he had a breaking point. She never imagined she would be the one to push him past it. She had expected him to fight for her, to beg her to stay. She thought he needed her as much as she needed him. Then he turned. For a fleeting second she saw a flicker of the man she married, a deep, unbearable sadness in his eyes. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a resolute emptiness. He didn't look at her. He looked past her. "I'll arrange to see the kids tomorrow," he said, his voice flat. And with that, he opened the door and walked out. He didn't slam it. He closed it softly behind him. Clara stood listening, waiting for the sound of his car to start. When it did, and the sound faded into the distance, she finally understood. He wasn't coming back. He didn't look back. He didn't hesitate. She had expected him to beg for forgiveness, for their life together. Instead, he simply walked away. And in the deafening silence of the house they had built together, Clara was left with nothing but the rubble of her choices and the haunting echo of a softly closed door. The love she took for granted wasn't a cage she had escaped from, but a home she had just burned to the ground. She thought she knew him, but she had never truly understood the quiet strength it took for him to love her so completely, and the same strength it took for him to leave. This story is a powerful reminder that trust is a fragile thing. Once broken, it can't always be pieced back together, no matter how much we wish it could. It shows us that the quietest people can have the firmest boundaries, and that no love, no matter how deep, is truly unconditional when respect is lost. Sometimes the most loving act a person can do for themselves is to walk away from a situation that has broken them. Liam's quiet departure was louder than any argument. It was a definitive statement of self-worth and a heartbreaking lesson for Clara about the true cost of betrayal. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of our community. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content that makes you think and feel. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment below with your thoughts. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.